one of the most anticipated games of 2026, selling over 5 million copies within the first 2 weeks of its launch. What's it like to be a part of this journey after playing 50 hours of this game? Yes, we're talking about Crimson Desert. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to be speaking about what Crimson Desert is like after 50 hours and taking you guys through what all I felt was amazing and what all I felt could have been better. Let's go. Now, personally, I've played a lot of open world games and I absolutely enjoy the experience depending on what it throws at me, right? My top one or the top most favorite game of mine of all time in an open world experience has always been Red Dead Redemption 2. And RDR2 has been a game that really transformed my life in various ways. We'll talk about that shortly. However, what is Crimson Desert like, right? This is a sci-fi game which is set in an open world experience. Now, obviously that means you can go from one place to another without really worrying about a restriction being built in the game for you. So if you ask me, Crimson Desert, it is an open world or a true open world game post RDR2 which is released, which looks spectacular when it comes to the graphics, when it comes to the abilities that you can perform, when it comes to also being able to see around and really absorb the fact that you're a person who's this tiny in a huge map, even in the game, exactly like what it is for us in real life. Now, as most of you know, you play as Clint MacDuff, a person who basically is part of the Greymanes, and is the entire group gets scattered in the starting half of the game, right? And well, you guys have played it, so I don't have to explain, but for those who don't know, basically you start off fighting these black bears who want to occupy your piece of land in Hunan, and you get scattered during a fight. Now the game sets off by you getting pushed off by the head of the black bears and supposedly dying, but you get revived by a very kind gentleman who lives around town, and the game begins right there by doing small favors. In the start, you do realize that it does take quite a long time before the actual story begins. Like for me, it took about 25 hours or so, where I had to do many small favors, many small meetups to understand what my abilities were or the powers that were given to me, for example. And also, not to forget, is the fact that these favors do reward you. So you have to do these particular small side missions or side quests, as you may call in open world. And it's so interesting to actually follow the story post. So for me, it took about 10 hours or 12 hours or so of constant gaming to actually begin the real story. You start patching up with your group, you start getting a new place for yourself where you build these houses and etc., which is all fun, no two ways to that. But one thing that I wish could have been better, and I say better, I don't mean to say the gameplay is outstanding without a doubt, but certain intricate details, and that's probably my gaming eye that catches these. For example, in Red Dead Redemption 2, when you travel from point A to point B and notice your surroundings, for example, a building, right? The building is probably quarter way done, and you go back in real time, come back after 2 weeks, you realize that a little more is built. So there's nothing but the background game engine, right? It constantly keeps running. But there's not such a thing like that in Crimson Desert. You go to one place, you explore, the place remains the same. So it's not, this is what I meant by it being not too realistic per se, right? But the fact that you're able to see things around, the fact that the map is so beautiful, you go from Hunan to another place, for example, it just gets, or Demesis, for example, you have a beautiful market filled with people, you get to buy and shop your stuff, get your inventory full again before you go off to a fight, and it's really cool that way. Up until now, most of the sci-fi part, why I say sci-fi, is because if you have to fight a boss, for example, you have to go to the abyss, you have to finish a puzzle, that puzzle will then take you up, you then fly into kind of a space region where another location is basically opened up for you, and you're able to basically go there and figure things out. You got to do a puzzle again, you fight, so that aspect is great. However, if you ask me, what in this world has Pearl Abyss done to Crimson Desert when it comes to stamina, to fight, to move, to even run, right? That's what we're going to get into now. Now, like I said, Cliff is a really strong, mature, natural human being, just like his folks as well. And he doesn't have any superpowers as such, but you do get abilities like force palm, flying in the air, soft landing. All of these things come when you meet White Crow and you get to do a few favors to her, for example, right? But to be honest with you, I really still felt that the stamina bar could have possibly improved or prolonged a little more, because when you're fighting these bosses, you run out of stamina in a jiffy, whereas those guys have unlimited stamina. They keep going on and on and on, and you're stuck in a loop where you fight, get his health down, fall back a bit, block, regain stamina. Yes, that does happen pretty quickly, but it kind of gets annoying for a gamer like me. You do have a little bit of an issue when it comes to ensuring that staying at your best is not something that you can possibly look into doing. But when it comes to the second fight, for example, you had to dodge him a lot more, and I was able to hit him, and then you come back to the third part. So it is more like a vicious cycle where you keep fighting, and I hope that going forward for the next 50 hours of gameplay, the boss mode fights don't become 5 or 6 times that you have to fight them to beat them. That's one prayer that I have, because you have possibly 4 moves before your stamina drains out, and then you have to wait for another 20 odd seconds. By then you can take a lot of hit if you don't block or if you don't know how to avoid or dodge. But I strongly feel that the stamina bit could have either improved or the bar could have really been high. And it's not just the fights, right? You run, there's stamina, great. Everybody has a fixed stamina or improved stamina, fine. But there's no improved stamina in Crimson Desert, guys. What I really felt was, if the bar could improve, like I said just a while back, it could have taken the game more forward, because you feel a lot more confident that yes, I can fight this guy for this long, or I can run for this long. The other thing that really annoys me is the fact that if you fall from one of these abyss, you come all the way back and you have to find your way back again, which means you have to go back to the building where you finished the puzzle, stand on the elevator of sorts, takes you up. That takes a long time. So I feel like they could have been, yes, it is realistic for sure, but there could have been a slight bit of tweak that could have happened there, primarily because I feel if you have a fall, you can just ideally start your game right then and there from where you fell off. That would have been really helpful as well. Now, coming to the game, on the whole, well, it's a beautiful game. As I told you, it looks fantastic. If you're a person who likes dreamy stuff, this is the place to be, right? You get the horses, all of that is realistic. The environment or the surroundings that you're in are superbly pretty. And not to forget, as the game evolves, your costume changes, you get new armor, things like that, which is a lot of fun. So it's more like you're playing a superpower game, but at the same time, it's also realistic. So it kind of confuses you when you're standing right in between. It's neither like Red Dead Redemption, where you have set health, you lose it, you're dead, and then you revive. It's more like you have the health, but you don't have the stamina. And it's a vicious cycle. It keeps going on and on and on. When Crimson Desert launched, obviously everybody like me got the day 1 edition, as you know, and if you haven't watched the unboxing of that, I'll put a link somewhere down below. But to be honest, I do understand that a lot of tweaks do happen or bugs do happen when you launch a game, and it's common, right? Unless you're a Rockstar or Naughty Dog, where you do have patches later on where people realize that few things are missing. But these bug fixes, mind you, have had multiple attempts to fix the problems that people have had to face. And Pearl Abyss has done a fantastic job. I think probably by now it's been about a little over a month now since the game launched, and I strongly feel that there have been close to around 8 software updates, versions that have come constantly, once in 3 days, once in a week, and each of it has improved the way your gameplay goes. For example, setting difficulty level, fair, and that you couldn't do before the most recent software update. So these are some of the things that you can possibly notice if you are an early gamer into Crimson Desert and what it's like for the first 50 hours. But if you're a person who's still contemplating whether to play this game, trust me guys, this is one of the most amazing open world games that I've played when it comes to the visuals, when it comes to the art. The dialogue delivery is still not 100% because there is a bit of a lag in between that I observed. If Cliff says something, the other person takes probably 5 seconds before he responds. So those things could have been a little better is what I feel. And the next 50 hours is something that I'm really looking forward to, because I feel the story began about 25, 30 hours ago, and it's been slow yet progressive. But I honestly feel that this is one game in 2026 that I'm really longing and looking forward to ensure that I complete within the next month or so. And the more hours you play, the more hours you get to know how amazing this game is when it comes to treasures, when it comes to unlocking fast travels, when it comes to many things that you possibly don't notice when you're playing the game initially. In the case of Red Dead Redemption, it was a pretty straight up start, although it was slow. But in this case, it was not straight up. You're doing many side quests and many favors, like I said in the beginning of this video, before which you realize what potential you have as a character, and you realize that, hey, these are my fellow guys that I need to be with. I need to regroup with them. I need to fight these guys off. I need to wait these guys off. I need to get the land back. So at the end of the day, whatever said and done, Crimson Desert has been one of the best games that I've played in 2026, and the best open world game, or the second best open world game that I've ever had visual blessing to see. And I'm so glad that they launched Crimson Desert this year on PS5. I think it's one of the most anticipated games, like I said. And what the future holds with Crimson Desert over the next 50 hours is something only time will tell, right? But I hope you've got your copy of Crimson Desert. Do not wait any longer, because the software updates and the patches and the glitches have been fixed 90%. But a few things that Pearl Abyss could have definitely improved, like I said. But overall, I'm a happy guy playing Crimson Desert and playing as Cliff Meltoff. Until next time, I will see you very soon, guys. Take it easy. Cheers.